Good morning. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily here on Channels Television. I'm Ini John Mekwa. We start as usual from the global space. Oil prices rose on Wednesday on expectations for higher demand and, of course, the U.S. dollar weakening. A report showed that U.S. crude and gasoline inventories fell, while the release of inflation data may point to a more supportive economic outlook. That means that inflation numbers may show that pressures are tapering when it comes to prices. Let's look at Brent now. It's up 0.6% at $82.88 a barrel. A lot of movement we've seen beginning the week with 83 down to 82, back to 83, and now is at 82 again. That's for Brent. For WTI of the United States, it's gone from 79 to 78, even though it's an up right here in the last couple of hours, 0.7%. Right up there. We told you about the data, inflation data from the United States. Expectation is driving that. Then the U.S. crude oil inventories was down 3.109 million barrels in the weekend at May 10. That number just came out from the American Petroleum Institute, and that is also a factor driving inflation numbers. Inventory data is also due later on today. And oil prices also found support from a softer U.S. dollar. So, of course, when the value of dollar goes down, it means more people with without the dollar currency are able to buy more. So that obviously adds to the demand of oil. Well, talking about oil, yesterday, Nigeria's crude oil production recorded an uptick. The meeting from OPEC Plus yesterday, that's for last month, April. Well, we have 1.28 million barrels per day. That's what we did last month. At least it's more than what we had the previous month. It was 1.23 barrels per day in March. That's at the end of that OPEC's latest monthly oil market report that was done yesterday. 51,000 barrels per day increase recorded, brings to a halt the 2 consecutive months of decline in the month. So this should mean more revenue for the country. You know, also with this increase, Nigeria regains the leading position on the charts for Africa's top oil producers. Angola had overtaken Nigeria. Well, now it's Nigeria, Angola, and then Libya. Meanwhile, Nigeria's oil rig count remained unchanged at 19 in the month of April. We do know that in the last, I believe, even in this month, we've added to our production, expecting, I think, about 16,000. By the end of the month, we should have about 40,000 from that OML in Akwa Ibom State. So we'll see if this is captured at the end of this month. Now we look at the Naira, not a good picture. We've seen the Naira continuously, depreciation is going on. And this is in spite of those arrests. We've seen EFCC is working with SEC, EFCC is arresting speculators. And I mean, economists will ask, is that the source of Nigeria's Naira depreciation? Is it arresting of these people? When we look around us, even in African countries, what's the scenario? And then from the Western countries also, do we see where EFCC is arresting people like this? I don't know. Well, mine is to talk and ask the questions. That's all I can do. Yes, I don't have the answers. But I mean, it's not a good picture for the Naira. We were celebrating the appreciation, but obviously that was a blip because we are back to the negative side now for about 3 weeks, I think, consecutive, maybe just one. Yesterday we had a positive from NAFEX, kind of artificial though. So we see NAFEM, the Naira dropped to 1,520 Naira 40 kobo from 1,478 Naira at the close of the previous day. NAFEX is 1,472 Naira 84 kobo from 1,449 Naira 80 kobo. Something really has to be done about this. We thought we're, having a little bit of relief, but we're not having it, and it's not a good one for the country at this time. Well, let's just do the numbers at once. Look at the financial markets this morning and see how it closed yesterday. It wasn't also a very good one for the NGX at the close of trade yesterday. It was a red 0.24%, but at least we know, we see a corresponding action to this. We see it in the fixed income market. So it's safe to say that perhaps the fund is still around the Nigerian financial market. If it's not at the stock exchange or the stock market, it's in the money market. We've seen numbers come out that the federal government has made about 11 trillion naira in the first 4 months from bonds and treasury bonds and FGN saving bonds and all of that. So perhaps this is explainable, unlike the naira, even though it's explainable, but are we doing anything about it? But the NGX was in the red yesterday, 0.24% at 97,473.98. Equities cap lost even the 200 here we had. It was 55.2 this time yesterday, but at the close of trade, it was 55.1 trillion naira for the NGX. Activity chart was all in the red. Top trades were Accessco, GTco, Nigerian breweries. Obviously, a lot of profit taking still going on there. Investors seem to be, taking from here to the fixed income market. When we go to even the smaller listed market, that's the NESD, it was also a negative, almost 0.5% down, 0.46%. There we have it. Market cap there, 1.653 trillion naira, and NSE is 1,206. Activity charts there was mostly red, even though it was mixed. Just the value was up about 15%. But I mean, you had the volume down and stocks traded also dropped by more than 57% at the close of trade. That's the unlisted market. So for the big guys in the NGX and those who feel they kind of meet up with that, we see them here. And even here, we can see that investors are not smiling there a whole lot. Now, let's go to where investors are at this time. They're in the fixed income market, yes. Starting with federal government bonds, yesterday we had 32 deals valued at 27.93 trillion naira. And we see a lot of movements right there. I think yields are still looking good. The saving bonds still did very well. And, well, it will cost the government less to fund the budgets if they are going this way. So that's why we celebrated 12 deals for the February 2031 offshore security right there. Go to the next one, Treasury bills. We have 37 deals valued at 88.92 billion naira. And this is the secondary market. And I think we have an auction today or so. Anita will have more details 1 p.m. April 2025, there were 19 deals for the NTB. This is where the FDIs, mostly prefer because of the short term and the promising yields. So April 10, 2025 had a lot, and we can see the busiest of the securities there at 2025. A lot more activity going on around there. For OMO of the central bank, there were 19 deals valued at 40 billion naira, and these ones are even shorter. They mature in June 2024, August 2024, and this were the busiest of that. So the short-term securities are being favored at this time. Top on the list is August 2024, and that's it. Well, I believe we should have Afolabi Gbenro now. He's of the NGX of the stock market to tell us perhaps what has been happening and what to expect at the close of trade. Good morning, Afolabi.
Okay. Good morning, Nini. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so it's been an interesting time in the market. We've seen a reversal in the bearish trend that we had seen on the back of the recapitalization news. The banks have definitely been driving activities in the market, and we expect this to continue. But what we have started to see is that the banks have started to reverse. They've started to see some gains, especially in the major banks, the likes of GTco, Zenith. It's safe to say that some of the dividends that have been paid are being reinvested back into the market. At least that's what we've been seeing. So we expect that the banks will continue to drive activities in the market, and we expect activities to be largely driven by the banking sector today.
Yeah, but even the banking sector doesn't seem strong enough to, I mean, we've even lost our 98,000. So even the investors' appreciation of the banking stocks doesn't seem to be pulling a lot of weight at this time?
Yes, but I think it's also safe to say that at least we're seeing some decent volumes trading with banks. I think GT traded over about 30 million shares yesterday. Zenith as well also traded some decent volumes. Access Bank, UBA, we're seeing some very decent volumes trade in these names. So even though it's not as bullish as maybe what we would like to have seen, we are actually seeing investors actually taking interest in these stocks.
Do we see this market recovering anytime soon?
We would like to see it recover, but I think, like I said, the current catalyst that we're expecting is dividends that have been paid, and these dividends will likely be invested back into the market. I think that's the major catalyst that we're expecting to see right now. I think it's also interesting to see that some foreign investors are also participating in the market again. So I think it'll probably be a slow and steady recovery for the markets, given the way it's dropped over the past couple of weeks.
So it's interesting, the movement in the oil and gas. It doesn't seem connected to our realities, and sometimes one just wonders. So we see the queues, and in other countries, when there's something going on in an industry or a sector, it reflects in the market. Now, in our case, we don't seem to see a lot of connection. There's still pockets of queues and filling stations. We see the movement of crude oil. And then we also saw the news that our production improved last month, at least to more than 1.2. But we don't see this sentiment captured in the markets.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting that some of the oil and gas stocks, if you look at SEPA, for example, it's not as liquid as maybe like an Oando or something. And I think was it just this week that we saw SEPA drop about 10% in price during trading? It's not very liquid, so that's probably why we're not seeing that translation into the oil and gas sector. I think if it was a little bit more liquid, then we'll probably see those translations as you have described.
All right. So, but I mean, it's not totally, I mean, talking about the NGX generally or the stock market generally, it's not totally negative, since we see that it seems investors are moving to the fixed income market. We can't wait if we know that the fund is still going around within us.
Yes, that's correct. And I mean, it's also not surprising that investors are moving away from equities into fixed income. If you're looking at the yields and the returns that you're getting from fixed income instruments and treasury bills and stuff, it's obviously equities are more risky instruments, and the treasury bills are sort of like safer instruments for investors to consider. But despite that, we are actually still seeing investors still interested in the equity markets, and I think we'll probably continue to see that.
So we're talking about investors' confidence in the country generally. I know that even when this administration was campaigning, it seemed to be very bright, and then when they got into office, but about 1 year after, would you say investors' sentiment generally, apart from the stock market, is still bullish?
Yeah, I think a lot of measures have gone into place to get the economy back on track. I think we just need to give these measures time for us to see the real impacts of them. I think what has been done has definitely is taking us a step in the right direction. I think we just need to give it some time for us to see the true impacts of how everything would work out. I think there is still confidence in the stock market. I think there's still confidence in Nigeria. Like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, we are still seeing some foreign investors having interest in the Nigerian markets, and I think that's always a good sign for us as a country.
And this drop in the value of Naira is not deterring investors?
No, I think it's something that they considered, but no, it's not deterring them.
So for you now, if you were to describe in a couple of words 1 year, the last 1 year of the market, what would you say?
Interesting. We've seen the highs, we've seen the lows. just before the news of the recapitalization came out, we were seeing the market rally. Indeed, the market actually started off rallying. A number of investors actually thought that they had missed the boat. But now we saw prices come back to levels again where investors were like, okay, they could actually take interest, they could participate again. And we're seeing investors basically take positions again in anticipation of another rally. So I'd say that last year has been interesting for the market, and we'll probably continue to see these ups and downs as is expected in equity market investments.
Inflation numbers are expected today. Do you see that making any difference to the markets?
No, I think where we are in terms of inflation, this has already been priced into the market. I think what is affecting the market now is mostly the news of the recapitalization. We're waiting to see the plans that the banks would have in terms of recapitalization. I think that will probably have a significant effect and significant impact rather on the market and the direction of the market.
But the recapitalization, we still have about 2 years. I think there's still time before we start seeing investors really make moves connected to that.
I would disagree with that because once the news came out, that's when we started seeing a reversal especially in the banks. So if you look at the performance of the banking sector from when the recapitalization news was announced, you see that the banks started losing. A lot of investors were selling off. Obviously, because the expectation is that if a bank is coming to the market to raise money, they'll probably want to do it at a discount. So a lot of investors will probably taking profits at higher levels and then coming down to basically come back in again when the market drops. So yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, but wouldn't it look like this is a good time for investors to come on since prices are dropping, and then we expect it to pick up again at the climax of the recapitalization, obviously, when we would have heard of the mergers and all of that, and known which of the banks will make it or which one will get merged?
Yeah, I think a lot of investors have actually been taking advantage of the depressed prices. Activity levels have reduced somewhat especially in the last week or so. But I think a lot of investors have taken advantage of the depressed levels to take positions in some of these stocks.
All right, Afolabi, thank you so much for your time. But how do you see the market closing today, NGX?
It's been very quiet. I think we'll probably continue to see that quiet trend today. I don't expect a significant move in the market today for the rest of today's session.
Yeah, well, I hope we don't lose the 97,000 at the close of trade. Thank you so much, Afolabi Gbinro with Stanbic IBTC Stockbrokers.
Thank you, Ini. Have a good day.
You too. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, just a bit of news left for you, and before we head back to the Sunrise Daily studio. Taiwan Business Forum in Nigeria has its eyes on improving on the $500 million volume of trade recorded in 2023. A volume that places Nigeria in second position among Taiwan's African trading partners.
What you have seen all around you are representing Taiwan's industrial power based on our good education, our good investment into promoting our own brain power. So Taiwan and Nigeria is a mutually complementary partners. We always said that because we, the people in Taiwan, we do only legitimate, fair, and free trade. We do not come to your backyard, dig your gold. We do not do illegal mining and stealing your solid minerals. We provide good equipment. We sell you with good facility and know-how. You buy the product, you buy the facility, and you produce your own product. We will buy from you with fair market price. This is what we call a legitimate trading.
Many lessons which Nigeria can learn from Taiwan abound. And participants, including the Director General of NASIMA, has this on his mind.
Around 1960, together with these Far Eastern countries, we were about the same thing economically. But you know, focus is a big thing. Leadership is a very big thing when it comes to running national economies. You don't run national economies as if you are running a shop. It's different. And we've got to develop to a point where we've got to have our long-term goals set, that people, whoever comes to power, can still see that goal and key into it.
Apart from the lessons to be learned from the survival of Taiwan economy in the face of natural disasters, Nigeria seeks to acquire skills in technology, which has made Taiwan a major exporter of machinery to the United States, Nigeria, and other countries. Well, more countries trying to build up a trade relation with Nigeria. Well, I do hope that it will not be a one-sided thing. I know that Nigeria does a lot of imports of machinery from there. And what do we export to Taiwan? Crude oil, mostly. We have to up our game in Nigeria, but let's find out. Sunrise Daily Studio is back to you guys.